and we are very clearly present there. Whereas if you do not have a F&B outlet, it obviously doesn't make sense. So you need to understand what's your marketing strategy, and you need to build in the e-marketing aspect and the social media aspect into your marketing strategy today. And you need to be very careful when you're choosing the platform. You also need to be very clear about the kind of reach Facebook has. It's not only the owned customer you have, the people who are on your, they like your pages. Like we have about 20,000 people in India who like our different hotel pages. But we also need to look at the amplification and something like an earned customer, because they do talk about it to their friends. So we today need to be very mindful in choosing our platforms. For different brands, we do have different strategies.
All right.
So I agree here with Kriti when she says that for each brand there's a different marketing strategy. So it's not a fad, it is here to stay, that's correct. Now, there's no question that how we are going to do social media, but how are we going to do it is the question, and how are we going to get it right is the question here. So, like she said, you need to have your marketing objective very clear, like all of us. Now, is your marketing objective only to be promoting your rooms? Is it your summer promotion? Is it only focused on food and beverage? What are you driving?
So if I can ask you, which are the platforms y'all are present on right now?
We are present on Facebook, now we are present on YouTube, and we are present on Twitter. But the way we use these three mediums is very different. But when you are trying to use these three mediums, you also need to correlate, because a person who's commenting on Facebook is automatically posting the same thing on Twitter and on YouTube. So it's all connected. Now all the mediums are connected. The same information is going on Pinterest, the same information is being picked up by TripAdvisor. So the gamut of information and at the speed that it's flowing is, you cannot measure how fast it's going to reach your consumer.
So what I get is that the platforms are like constantly evolving. So
Correct.
we need to evolve our marketing strategy. There can't be like a 2-year, 3-year marketing strategy out there. It needs to change every few months, and decide then which platform suits that marketing strategy at that point.
That's correct, because you have a lot of new platforms that keep evolving every 6 months. Now we spoke about Facebook for a very long time, then you had Pinterest in between, then you have Google Plus, and likewise you will keep adding a lot of platforms. So a marketing strategy for social media cannot be a year-long strategy. It has to be something that keeps evolving, and for budget hotels and for hotel standalone properties and for standalone restaurants, this is going to be an excellent medium for them to take it forward with their customers at really less cost.
So why would you say that it's really good for budget hotels or standalone properties?
The reason that I say this is because the guidelines are more flexible. They have a leaner management module, and it's easier for them to explore this whole, the space of social media in a very flexible way. The way social media is very flexible, it's dynamic, it's changing. Similarly, their strategies can also be changing and dynamic. For a larger chain, we have strict guidelines and we have layers of approval. So that is where a smaller chain would be more benefiting out of this social media than a larger chain.
All right, so when we're on the topic of benefits, my question is, how do you measure ROI on social media? Like, is it all about sales numbers, or what else is out there?
So it's a good point. I think nobody's cracked it yet. Like I said earlier, I think measuring the ROI is a second step. First, you've got to set clear objectives, and I don't even know how many people really have set clear, measurable objectives from their social media activities. So my take is that right now it's really early stages. I don't think one can really measure the ROI from what we're doing in social media. Of course, like I said earlier, if you have some basic and rudimentary metrics that you're chasing from each of those activities, just keep those in sight. Simply from a revenue or a sales perspective, I don't think the platforms can be used entirely to drive those objectives. And different organizations, even now are using different platforms for different purposes. So, for example, I know that companies like Jet Airways or ClearTrip, for example, use Twitter specifically to push out tactical offers and deals, or even use Twitter to as a very effective customer support tool for that matter. When in situations where a customer can't reach the call center of a particular organization, Twitter just turns out to be a very handy tool to, give a response to an aggravated customer. So just there are various ways in which various platforms can be used to suit different objectives, really.
All right.
So Rohan, it's a constantly evolving process, and today we have done some certain campaigns with very clear objectives, like we ran a Facebook game to increase the number of loyalty members. So we did have very specific objectives. So it really depends on what's your objective, what is the campaign, what kind of engagement levels you have. There are paid ads which we have done to increase the number of fan base, see, engagement definitely does lead to a higher level of sales. So we would like to look at it in that manner, but as you said that it's all about sales. It's definitely not all about sales. We understand it's all about engagement, and which will definitely lead to sales eventually.
All right, so you all do measure ROI, but it's more on a campaign basis,
Yes.
rather than ROI on social media in general.
Yes.
So per campaign, you would measure ROI, and you might measure it in different ways, in number of likes, number of new people who came onto your page, how many people commented, and also in terms of sales from time to time.
Absolutely.
Okay, so the next thing that I'm gonna go out is like, what are the different activities y'all are engaging on social media? Like, what can it be used for? Is it only for updates? Is it something like a website? Is it for running offers, or just creating a big fan base? So what are the different things you'll use it for?
So great. From our perspective, really the way we've used social media, and of course, there are two ways to do it. One is to go and try and build another community on another platform such as Facebook. But I don't think we chose to do that. We in fact decided to use or leverage Facebook's large presence in a much more intrinsic way. And I think there's a learning for other organizations as well. And the underlying point I'm trying to make really is to how do you make your own communities and your own websites more social, right? So you have an audience that you've attracted by paying marketing dollars to your own website. How do you get them more engaged on your own website by making your own website more social, by introducing social elements into it? To illustrate from our perspective, particularly, what we did was we introduced a feature called instant personalization, which really makes the whole process of travel planning on TripAdvisor much more personal, right? So it's to aid the whole process of wisdom of strangers to wisdom of friends, right? So when you're planning a trip now on TripAdvisor and you're on TripAdvisor, you actually can see your friends, your Facebook friends activity, what places they've been to, the reviews that they've left. And if you're researching a hotel, you'll see their reviews first. And you could reach out to your Facebook friends. So incredibly powerful, right? It makes the whole travel planning process that much more powerful by introducing your own friends when you're making your travel plans. That's what I meant by weaving social media much more powerfully into your own website and introducing elements of social to just change the way your users are using your own website. And one small thing, which Accor is doing, for example, is using TripAdvisor reviews on their own website. You can also introduce, give your own audience the power to leave comments, and that's the whole point of creating your own community on your own website. So, you don't necessarily have to go and create communities outside of your own website. You can also, make your own websites much more engaging by leveraging it in a much more intrinsic way.
So as I highlighted previously that we have used it to increase the number of loyalty members. So we did introduce games on Facebook. We have also used it for recruitment purpose. We have very actively, few of our hotels have used Facebook and LinkedIn for recruitment purpose. We also use it to collect database. So these are a few of the examples which we had. In terms of one of our hotels had an event, and to collect the database, they used Facebook, and they gave free passes for the event. It was an exclusive event. So we have ran different kind of activities on Facebook.
All right.
Similarly, we have done a lot of activities on Facebook. Now the activities range from making an online brochure to diverting the traffic to your website, and successfully also driving your F&B revenue, which we have done for the China Kitchen completing its 5th year. So we ran a promotion which was more about, just for the Facebook members. So specific promotions which are related to Facebook members, giving them the benefit of liking us, being on our page, and coming back to use our product. So that's how you kind of can get an ROI and also get loyal customers to come back to your hotels.
All right. So basically, the next question that I'm going to go is, how does Facebook differ, or how does social media differ from traditional methods of marketing? How has it changed, and why does it affect us so much?
So a couple of things. I think most importantly, it's the interactive ability of the ability of people to actually interact with the brand and have a two-way conversation rather than a one-way conversation. That's the intrinsic difference. And secondly, it's also how quickly some of these things can go viral, and that's why you need to kind of respond quickly and keep looking at them. So it's the speed at which information moves, which just dramatically is of a different scale on social media than it is, on traditional media. So, it makes it much more important to monitor and look at some of these things.
So sharing of information is important out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's a two-way channel, so it also enables people to obviously, talk back to you, and then once that's done, it's visible to millions of people across the globe. So, that makes it much more important for you to monitor it very carefully.
All right.
When you ask that what has changed from, what's different from traditional media to social media, it's all about where your customers are. Your customers have moved from traditional media to social media today, and that's why you need to be present there. You cannot just choose to ignore. The ultimate goal is to influence the direct reflex of the customers, so they do call you, or they do email you, or they do book online with your website. But it's all about where your customers are. So that's why it's important today to be there on the social media.
Do you think it's a more indirect way of marketing yourself rather than just blowing your trumpet and putting out the hotel's features out there? It's a way that other people can probably share their views on it and use that as a way of marketing.
So absolutely, it's all about engagement, and as Nikhil pointed out, it's about it's become more interactive. So it's not only you who are talking about your product; it's about the millions of people who are out there who are talking about your product.
So social media, as I am understanding, is more about the customer than about the company. Am I right?
True. I mean, as Kriti pointed out, it's about, ultimately it boils down to word of mouth. There can be no better endorsement for your brand than word of mouth, and social media is only about word of mouth, right? So it's really marketing, gold dirt, with having consumers talk about your brand, and quite the contrary to, using it to blow your own trumpet. I think one should be more reserved and subtle when it comes to talking about your own brand on social media platforms, and let your customers do the talking, because there's nothing like them doing it for you.
Social media can be a really good litmus test for your brand following and your brand loyalty that the customers have, because the more and more you see people engaging with you is a good way to know that how popular you are amongst them and how much they want to know about you and follow you.
So is social media now playing a vital role in customer retention and satisfaction?
In a way, yes, because the more you engage with them, the more you involve, because it's given, social media has given us a platform where we can communicate and they can communicate with us in return. So this is an excellent platform where you can really retain that 20% of your clients and have them come back again and again.
No, so absolutely. I mean, from our perspective, again, there's a piece of data that we have when it comes to engagement. It's specifically hotels' engagement, and responses to reviews on TripAdvisor. And that's something I shared with Rohan earlier as well. I think 80% of people who look at a management response to a review on TripAdvisor consider that property much more favorable. So if there are two properties and one of them has management responses to reviews, then 80% of people will say that they will be swayed just by the fact that the hotel has taken the time to actually leave a response to a customer's review. Yeah.
All right. So the next question that I'm going to move to is a question that's, I'm sure, in all of your heads, is how do you budget for social media? And are ads a necessary element of social media?
So it's an evolving process, Rohan. The interesting thing is that we have actually moved from should we invest to how much should we invest. We don't look at it as an option today, but we are trying to figure out that how much do we need to budget for different brands and for different activities. But we do definitely we do budget for social media today for different brands.
Okay.
How we budget is that, in fact, this year it's been very interesting. We would ideally like to, budget for e-commerce as a whole and social media as a package of e-commerce. So we are getting into a lot of online advertisements. We are getting into a lot of presence on various platforms that are online. Online PR is a big agenda. Bloggers, again, a big agenda on this year's marketing strategy. And then we also have, it'll be very interesting to see the ROIs that you get out of it. The e-commerce, when you spend $1, you get 4 back. So that's very interesting to know that, you can put your budget and then see what kind of returns you get.
So as a number or a figure, what percentage of your marketing budget would be allotted to e-commerce or social media?
I would say around 60% to e-commerce. So that's how we move forward. Ideally, that should be what it is.
That's a quite large number for Accor.
We do have from the range of 15 to 40 for the next year.
Okay. So yeah, the last question I'm going to ask here is tackling the negative side of social media, because everyone has the question that because of social media, does that give a chance for my customer to talk bad about me? Does it give a chance for the competition to rant about me? So how is it affecting them?
Well, specifically from our perspective, and I think I've pointed out both these things. One is that it's not all about negative reviews. So clearly, most customers do talk and share about their positive experiences. And the second point that I made earlier also was how critical it is for hotels to acknowledge reviews, positive or negative. And I repeat that, both positive as well as negative. So when a good one comes in, say thank you. When a bad one comes in, also say thank you. And of course, proceed to explain what went wrong. But it's critical to kind of respond in both cases, whether the platform is TripAdvisor or whether it's any other platform where customers have left their voice. They've taken the time to share an experience about you. That's incredible, right? So it's only fair that you oblige them with a response.
So even for our hotels on TripAdvisor or Facebook, if we look at, we actually don't score so negatively. We score like really on the high end. We also have very strict guidelines in terms of reverting back to the customers. So we do revert back to the customers, either be it positive or negative. We do tell our general managers that it's an open forum, so they need to be very mindful before entering into this forum, and if it's a negative feedback, they just need to accept it if it's a genuine feedback. And but if it's a fake feedback, we do work with the agencies like a TripAdvisor or Facebook to understand that where is it coming from, and we do work with them to remove it. But if it's a genuine feedback, we just need to touch base with the customer and revert back why did it happen and it shouldn't happen again. And eventually we do need to ensure that we need to have better efficiencies in our hotels and have better service levels so that it shouldn't be repeated.
Sure. So what I understand is that everyone makes mistakes. It's whether you're there to listen and to cover it up or actually respond to your customer. I think that's what's important to people out there, and it shows that the brand is listening and is bothered about what the customer wants to say. Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to put it out for some questions right now. Anyone in the crowd have any questions?
part of that marketing expense for the social media. Can you give us the number? Because both of you said some numbers, but we didn't follow. What are you saying?
Am I audible now? Okay. We have different brands in Accor. In India, we have 7 brands currently, and we do have from 15%.
Can you give me one hotel? Just tell me one hotel of yours
In the
in
range
any
of
city and say how much is the percentage to the sales?
30% of the marketing budget as an e-commerce budget.
30% of the marketing cost.
Yes.
And how much is the marketing cost to the sales?
That really depends on a hotel to hotel.
Give me any number. Say the percentage. There is no secret in business.
Yeah,
We
but
all are
it's
in
about-
business. I believe there are no
No,
secrets in the business.
it's like in the range of 4 to 5%.
Okay, thank you. Same thing goes for the other hotel chain also?
I think Kriti has pretty much answered it. So as an international chain, that's all we're allowed to spend at the moment.
Okay, one last question to both you ladies. Do you ask your guests to go on the Facebook or visit the social media and report?
So you meant that we proactively go and ask
Yes.
customers to like our
Yes.
page? No, not. Because we believe